We're back, we're live, we're Think Tech, we're Energy, we're Think Tech Energy Wednesday, right here on, guess what? KGU 760 AM and thinktechhawaii.com. Check us out. Anyway, today we're going to talk about energy. And I have witnesses to prove it. Let's see, who's in the room? Let's check out the room. Okay, our principal guest is Leon Roos. HNEI, Hawaii Natural Energy Institute. He's on the faculty there. And we have Jim Kelly calling in. Jim might be on the phone right now. If he is, then he should stand up and wave. Okay, well, Jim will be here soon. And he is with KIUC, Kauai Island Utility Cooperative. And we're going to talk today about how smart is Hawaii's smart grid, which is a really important question. And Sharon Moriwaki, our co-host, we have two co-hosts in the room. We are loaded today, gentlemen, ladies. Sharon Moriwaki is here, and this is a question she has wanted to discuss for a long time. Okay, but stop everything. Before we ever get there, we're going to do the Negawatt moment right here, right now, with Chelsea Harder of Hawaii Energy. Ready, Chelsea?
I'm ready.
I knew you were. Okay, what do you got, you guys?
So I'm going to talk about the Transformational Programs partnership with Kupu Rise. We are pairing with Kupu to provide professional development opportunities in the sustainable sector. So this creates local job creation, and it also will work with the SBDIL program, which is the Small Business.
Okay, what? Give me acronym extension here.
Right.
Expansion of acronym.
The extension is the Small Business Direct Install Lighting Program.
I knew that. My wife and I speak a little else at dinner.
Right. So we're working with small businesses and restaurants, and these interns are performing post inspections on the lighting retrofits.
Okay. So I'm a restaurant.
Right.
And I call you up.
So you call.
And I say, Chelsea, I heard you just the other day on Think Tech Hawaii, and I'm so excited about your program. How can I get involved in your program? What can you do for me specifically?
I will say that's excellent. I will transfer you to the business department. They will work with you on your direct install lighting program. You will work with a contractor, and then Hawaii Energy interns or the business team will come in and perform the post-inspection to make sure that everything is accurate and the integrity is there.
What am I installing now exactly?
Lighting. So let's say your lighting is inefficient, we'll work with a contractor to make sure that it's efficient.
CFL, you can put CFL in for me?
CFL, yep. LEDs,
okay.
All that good stuff.
So I pay for this out of my own pocket?
Actually, it's free.
Oh. Wait, I got to reframe the question. There is a free lunch and a free CFL in the world today.
Yeah, if you're a small business or a restaurant, this is free.
Free. So suppose I'm a big, small restaurant.
All restaurants qualify.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you come in, now you're not going to change the fixture, or you are, you're going to change the fixtures.
A contractor will change it, and Hawaii Energy will work with you on the rebates, or not the rebate, but the free program, and then we will come in and do the post-inspection.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
And on top of that, I get cheaper energy.
That's
and
true.
I use less wattage.
Yep, you'll save money, and it's a free service, so it's win-win.
Just bowling me over. You guys come up with this stuff. I know you have meetings at 2 o'clock in the morning, Ray. Come up with these creative ideas.
Well, actually, this is a program that's very important to the state, and that's why we have gone after the small businesses. There are certain limitations on what we have as a small business. It has to be Schedule G, small business, or a restaurant, which could be Schedule J.
All the best things.
But the restaurants and small businesses just eat electricity when they're burning lights, especially if they're using older lights. And so we have arrangements with approved contractors that will go in and install for the small businesses new lights as necessary. And then, as Chelsea was saying, we have interns now that are going out and doing the inspections, the post inspections, to make sure that what the contractor has said in terms of, we put in 52 lights of XYZ style, that's what happens.
Well, that's good, but that means that you're sort of representing the restaurant owner in the sense that the restaurant owner can be sure he's getting what he was supposed to get.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, we want to make sure that the ratepayers who are paying into the fund, that
getting what
makes
they're
it
supposed to
possible
get.
that they're getting what they're supposed to get. Yes.
Okay, Chelsea, you want to add anything to that?
I just want to emphasize that this is creating sustainable jobs and developing these students professionally. So we're going to have a really great sustainable workforce coming in soon.
That's great news. And it's elevating in the sense that I just heard a few minutes ago that Congress reached a deal. So the government doesn't have to close down, and we can get, CFL lights in the restaurants also. What a day. It's Wednesday. Must be Energy Wednesday. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Jay.
And Leon, do you want to ask Chelsea any cross-examination questions?
No, I'll pass
You'll
on
go
this
with
one,
the
yeah.
discussion so far.
Yeah, very good,
Leon is
though.
not disagreeing with anything you have said.
Wonderful.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we proceed then, Ray?
Sounds like an idea.
Okay, we're going to
Go ahead.
proceed. I think we're free to proceed to the next step. The next, as they say in the Navy, the next evolution. That's Navy terminology. Okay, Leon. Oh, by the way, Leah, do we have Jim Kelly on the phone?
Yes, we do.
Oh, why don't you patch him in? Jim, thank you. Thank you for joining us here on Think Tech Wednesday, Energy Wednesday. It's great to hear the sound of your voice. It's, the voices sound different from Kauai. It must be the air.
Well, it must be because I'm calling on my crummy cell phone because for whatever reason I couldn't get my work phone to actually call you. So here I am. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we can. We got you now. Okay, that's the voice of Jim Kelly from KIUC. And our subject today with Jim Kelly and Leon Roos of HNEI is how smart is Hawaii's smart grid? And I know exactly how to start this discussion. Leon, how smart is Hawaii's smart grid?
It's actually pretty smart, but it can get a lot smarter. And so that's a lot of the work we're doing. I think, Jim over at KIUC has taken a large and bold step forward with the introduction of smart meters on that island and really trying to bring more capability both to the utility operations and benefiting the customers. But, I'd say it's pretty smart, but it can get a lot
Okay,
smarter.
That's it. That's it. We're finished.
There we go.
Thank you, everyone.
Leon, tell us what you're doing and how smart it is. What's
You have a
happening?
musical interlude, don't you?
Well, can we define what we mean by
Yeah.
smart? What is a smart grid anyway? Jim?
Well, I've mostly been dealing with it on Hawaii from the kind of the customer engagement end of things, because I think, smart grid, you're talking about all sorts of things that involve everything from, the management of the power plants of the grid and all the technology and software that goes into running, to basically switching from what really, in a lot of ways, is still a 19th century kind of grid that has a lot of mechanical moving parts and gears and things that are switched manually to something that is a 21st century operating system. And so there's kind of the big picture smart grid, and then there's the piece that I think most consumers are going to come in contact with, and that's what we've been doing here on Kauai, which is the installation of 30,000 commercial and residential smart meters over the last 18 months, and we're the only utility in the state that has done that. So, we've been kind of the tip of the spear in dealing with the customer experience, and also just internally seeing how the smart meter and smart grid benefits the guys that are figuring out every day how much juice we got out there, how much we need, how much to pull back, managing the grid, basically.
Okay, well, I think we nailed, that part down, because I think that is really the part that everybody up to this point is familiar with. That is the smart meter. But, Leon, what else is there? I mean, there's got to be more. You talk about, Jim talked about the mechanical things of the 19th century, or was it the 17th century, or maybe the 18th or the 14th, whatever. But now, okay, we're taking the mechanical things out and we're putting something else in. Can you give me some examples of the kind of smart, devices that we're putting in?
Sure. You know, when I kind of made the comment about the grid's pretty smart today, I mean, there has been a lot of intelligence and automation and sort of strong computer horsepower built into the power system, but it's always kind of been focused up at sort of the central brain, sort of the center core of operations, right? Historically, the way the power grid has worked is generation, you know, power is produced at large power plants, and then it's just pushed out over lines to all the end users, right? It's all one direction power flow, fairly predictable. You know, utility has a good understanding of what the customer usage patterns are, et cetera, and so operations was, all things considered, fairly straightforward. But there's a lot of intelligence up at that top level because you're trying to optimize cost, right? Run the system efficiently, et cetera. I think one of the things that have sort of changed in recent times is really the introduction of distributed generation, with a lot of you know, small generators coming up on people's rooftops in the form of PV, for example, right? The PV market here in Hawaii has been growing on an exponential rate now for a number of years. That fundamentally has sort of changed the dynamics and how a grid needs to operate. It's taking this older infrastructure and now trying to use it in a way that's fundamentally different than from what it was originally designed for. And so the need to bring more intelligence into that grid at the far ends of the grid, you know, down near the customers, down trying to manage sort of these 10,000 points of generating sources now spread throughout the grid is a whole nother challenge.
Okay, but we're not talking about a smart meter now. We're talking about something else.
Well, smart meters are part of it.
It's part of it, but it's a black.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sort of zoom in on this.
Right.
There's a black box out there, and it is somewhere between the smart meter and home base in the utilities. You know, the central office.
Right.
So what exactly does the black box do?
So,
Oops.
yeah.
I hear the sound of a break coming upon us.
Okay.
Leon, so this will give you, you know, some time to think about your answer.
Sure.
And maybe win the prize from Hawaii Energy. They give prizes for good guesses. And Jim Kelly will be right back if you don't mind. We're gonna take a couple of minutes here. How smart is Hawaii's smart grid on Think Tech Energy Wednesday with Leon Roos, Jim Kelly, Ray Moriwaki, Ray Starling, Sharon Moriwaki, and me, and we're here all together in Think Tech Studios in Pioneer Plaza, taking a break. Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel. This is Think Tech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is Think Tech. I'm Jay Fidel. Mahalo.
My name is Dan Bauer, and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza, our commanding skylight views, along with our award-winning cuisine and service, are known as the place to do business downtown. We offer professional as well as social events and programs to our members and their guests, all tailored to enrich their professional and personal lives and to give them the cutting edge that they deserve in business. Why don't you consider becoming a member of the club? Call me at 531-7788 or come see me and let's talk business and how the Plaza Club can work for you. Again, my name is Dan Bauer. I'm the General Manager of the club, and I'm here for you.
I'm David Day, the host of Asian Review. This is a Think Tech program in which we take the issues of the Asia-Pacific region, whether they be in business, in foreign policy, in national security, or geopolitics. And we take those issues and we try to probe down in some real depth. Maybe it's not always politically correct, but we get to the truth. We do things that the regular media can't do. And the reason that we can do those things is because we here at Think Tech have the contacts. We have the network. and we can take the time and explore the issues in depth. Tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. here at ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm David Day, the host of Asia in Review. This is a ThinkTech program in which we...
Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem of ThinkTech Hawaii, and I want to tell you about our ThinkTech on OC16 show. This week on ThinkTech on OC16, we'll take a look at the Honolulu Century Ride organized by the Hawaii Bicycling League on Sunday, September 29th. This was the 32nd Century Ride, and thousands of riders showed up. It was a beautiful day and a beautiful experience for the people involved. There's always a lot to come on ThinkTech. Tune in to ThinkTech on OC16. See our broadcast schedule on thinktechhawaii.com. I'm Maria Kashem, and I'll...
We're back, we're live, we're at ThinkTech Energy Wednesday. We're talking about how smart is Hawaii's smart grid with Leon Roos of HNEI, Hawaii National Energy Institute, and Jim Kelly of KIUC, Kauai Island Utility Co-op. Anyway, our show is sponsored and organized by the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Sharon Moriwaki, who's sitting in the gallery right alongside the Peanuts, the Peanut Gallery. She is the co-chair of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, and our supporters are HECO, they call it now Hawaiian Electric, they don't call it HECO anymore, and Hawaii Energy. Ray Starling is the General Director and Provocateur, Grand Poobah of Hawaii Energy, and DBED, Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. Say that fast 3 times. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, those are the guys that support this show, and it's really special that we have them. Going back to conceptually, Leon, what is a smart grid device? I just want, I think there's a lot of people out there who just have a very amorphous feeling about what it is. So this black box, what is this black box likely to do?
Well, the smart grid's probably made up of a lot of black boxes, but when I kind of think about the core stuff that we're working on, for example, we're trying to bring more intelligence and decision making into the power system, but not sort of up at that central brain. So distribute the decision making. As you get more and more actors, so to speak, on the grid, all of these separate power sources, you need to be able to almost fundamentally change the architecture of the control of how you operate this grid.
And you automate it, and you distribute it.
Exactly, you
so
automate it.
Headquarters doesn't necessarily get involved in that decision.
Every decision, right. I mean, when things are happening at the very edge of the grid, you don't necessarily need the central brain to make that decision. Yeah. And so, but you still need then coordination between decisions that are made more remotely in maybe a more narrow set or field of issues. Okay. But it has to be coordinated back up to the central brain. So it's about a lot of communications infrastructure, data, software control, operational control, reach to customers, informing customers. Information is extremely powerful, and that benefit accrues both to the operator of the utility grid as well as to the end users, helping end users use their energy more wisely, reduce energy use, save costs. It's all of those things.
It doesn't speak in English, does it, though? It's sending little signals. It's taking data. Yeah. It's analyzing the data. Depending on how it's programmed, it's making a decision about the data, that analysis, and then it's sending instructions back somewhere.
Right. To any devices. In the case of devices in the home, it may be direct control signals to control loads in the homes. In other equipment that's part more of the utility grid, it may be an intelligent, what they call an inverter. An inverter is a device that converts power from DC to AC or vice versa, but typically DC to AC for like a PV system on someone's rooftop. Well, if you had a way to maybe enhance the capability of the inverter, you could maybe do some things that would allow the grid to take on more PV, for example. So those are pieces and elements of it. There's just many elements of it. It's really about stitching it all together. How do you pull it all together in an intelligent way?
And it sounds like putting it in balance. You're sending signals that you're too much, you're sending too much, you're sending too little, you're using too much, using too little, this kind of thing. Put the whole system in balance by analyzing the data you get and then sending instructions to little switches and things that will act on your instructions and control you control the word you use, control what's going on.
Control what's going on effectively, efficiently, As you begin to push a lot more data, you begin to run into, you know, sort of choke points with communications, right? So that, again, in turn leads more to an architecture in which if you don't have to communicate something all the way back to the central brain, well, don't do it. You know, do what you need to in an effective manner.
Okay, what word comes to mind, and this applies, I think, to the, you know, the home smart meter just as well, Jim, is invasiveness. You know, and I don't mean NSA invasiveness. Nobody here is suggesting that NSA is involved in any of this. And if they were, we would say, no, you can't. But no, I'm talking about, you know, people who don't want you to measure their use with a smart meter. We're talking about people who don't want your black boxes, Leon, to actually tell their home what to do. They want it like it was in the 19th century. Jim, am I right? Have you had any, you know, issues about people not really going along with invasiveness?
Yeah, we have probably early on we decided that we wanted to give people the choice to have the smart meter or not, because there's been a lot of pushback in various communities on the mainland over privacy issues and health issues, and we just decided to, as opposed to trying to, you know, we're completely convinced of their safety. We're completely convinced, you know, I've looked at the smart meter when it comes off of it on my house, and, you know, it's like a barn start. You know, I mean, you can probably figure out when the refrigerator clicks on. You can probably figure out when the hot water heater clicks on. But, you know, going down any deeper into that to look into what people are doing, I still haven't been able to figure out how you would do that.
But that isn't really happening, but people are worried about it anyway?
There's a lot of things in this world and in this state that people are worried about that I just don't understand why they're worried about it. I wish we'd get more worried about things that actually are going on, like, you know, teen pregnancy and drug abuse and drunk driving and elder abuse and people getting taken advantage of and you know, actual real documentable things, you know, that are a lot easier to tackle than to call up the electric company and tell them to not put the meter on their house because it's giving them a headache.
Well, let's assume that there's a few people out there right now who are not initiated on this. What would you tell them to clarify their thinking? Tell them now in no uncertain terms where the line stops in terms of the invasiveness.
Well, and people will be able to see by the end of this year we're going to have this web portal up and running, and they're used across the mainland. It'll be, you know, like logging into your checking account. You can log into your electric account and see how much you're using, and you can break it down into 15-minute increments, and it'll display it however you want, on a bar chart, in numbers, in a fever chart kind, and you can basically see exactly how much kWh you're using on any given day of the week, and over the course of the month you can figure out why it spikes on a certain day, and you can figure out, we're going to work it so you can see how you compare to people who have similar sized houses with similar appliances. Are using more than they are, less than they are? It's just going to give you a really great opportunity to get a handle on how you use electricity, as opposed to getting the bill every month and going, oh yeah, I guess it went up a little last month.
Right.
You want to talk about solar PV with the smart meter. That's really interesting, because right now, someone who has solar PV, we got 1,800 systems on homes over here about, and we can see down to, you know, the 15-minute increment how much energy your system is producing, you know, in very precise detail, as opposed to before where we're just guessing at how much it's putting out. And that really does help from engineering and grid management standpoint.
So
imagine how much better and richer that data is when we can actually see the impact of cloud cover, the impact of where you are on the island, the impact of, you know, when it really does start to drop off during the day, and when we should click on harder our conventional generation, because, you know, at 5:56, the PV penetration has dropped to just about zero. Things like that.
Well, so it's really not invasive at all. It's not collecting data about anything you really care about except your energy system. And it's allowing
Yeah,
the...
so you can also call up, like somebody did, and say, how come my bill went up $200 last month? Well, this customer service person before basically has two numbers to look at. Your bill last month and your bill this month. Now she can call up your record and she can see it down to, you know, on an hourly basis, and she can say, hey, there's a piece of equipment that's clicking on, it looks like, you know, at, you know, between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, there's something going on that's drawing power. And this is a true story. The business owner had an air conditioner that he thought was on a timer, and the timer was screwed up, and his air conditioner was running at night, and he didn't realize it. You know, until the smart meter said there was something going on at night when nobody was there. So I don't know if that's invasive or if that's just helping the average person figure out how they can save some money.
Well, you know, I think this is really important as a community conceptual matter, that we share information, that we collaborate together and get a better result for the whole community. That's what this really means. So everybody benefits by everybody putting that information in. There is no good reason in the world to resist a smart meter. None whatsoever. And on that note, in order to punctuate that, I feel so strongly about it that we're going to take a break. This is Think Tech Energy Wednesday. How smart is Hawaii's smart grid? With Leon Roos of HNEI, Hawaii National Energy Institute, and Jim Kelly of KIUC. We'll be right back, Ray Starling and me, and Sharon Moriwaki right after this break.
Hi, how are you? You feeling good? Are you feeling lucky? Think Tech Hawaii, it puts a bubble in my bender. If you don't feel good, that's your fault. Now that's live TV, folks.
Hi, I'm Steve Petranek, editor of Hawaii Business Magazine, and I'm going to be part of Newsmorphosis 3, a look at online news in Hawaii. And along with me there will be Patty Epler of Civil Beat and HuffPost Hawaii, Malia Zimmerman of Hawaii Reporter, Jared Kuroiwa of KHON, and moderating us all is Howard Dykes of Hawaii News Now. If you want to know how Hawaii it gets its news now and will be getting it in the future, you need to be at Newsmorphosis 3. That's at 11:30 on October 24th at the Plaza Club. See you then.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidel of Think Tech. On Wednesday, September 4th, we have an interesting show with Donna Blanchard. She's the host of Arts in Hawaii, 2 to 3 p.m. that day. And her guest is Jeff Geer. He's an international storyteller, and he tells stories about Hawaii. So check it out on Think Tech, September 4th, 2 to 3 p.m. I'm Jay Fidel. I'll see you there. Mahalo.
For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
We're back, we're live, we're Think Tech on Energy Wednesday with Jack Waters and Leah Rodriguez of KGU to help us. We're talking about how smart is Hawaii's smart grid. with Leon Roos of HNEI and Jim Kelly of KIUC, calling in from KIUC in Kauai. We have Ray Starling and Sharon Moriwaki as our co-hosts, and we want to pursue the discussion a little with Leon Roos about exactly what he's doing and how he sees this all unfolding for the benefit of the statewide community.
Sure. We've got a number of significant projects going on across the state. I'll kind of highlight several that are happening on the island of Maui in particular that I think are of a lot of interest. As Jim alluded to, as a utility there in Kauai, they've implemented smart meters, en masse for their entire customer base. On the island of Maui, we've also introduced a project with smart meters and a lot of other technologies, with the end goal being to essentially provide consumers with more information so they can make better decisions about their energy use, providing the utility key information so that they can operate the grid more efficiently and effectively. At the end of the day, implement this technology to do several things. Increase the amount of renewable energy that we can uptake on the grid and use effectively. And a direct result of that is we can begin to move away off of oil, which I think we all fundamentally need to do here in the state.
Can I just punctuate that with one question? Are you saying, this is one of those black letter questions, are you saying, Leon Roos of HNEI, that if I have a smart grid, it can take more renewables?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Where do the renewables go? Is there a little place in the black box?
No, they go out to the consumers that use energy, right? Ultimately, it enables the grid to be able to absorb that energy and distribute it back out to the customers, and then operate the grid reliably.
Simply because it's more efficient.
Yeah, well, more efficient.
Places to send it.
More efficient, and it can do it in a way that keeps sort of the fundamentals of electricity and physics all working. The challenge with things like solar and wind is they're great. They're a renewable resource. They don't burn a fuel, obviously, but the challenge is they're intermittent and variable. That intermittency and variability causes challenges to grid operations. Right? When you drive a car, you have control over that accelerator, that gas pedal. Same thing with a conventional generating unit. The utility can control at all times the amount of generation produced to match the amount of demand. The new dimension in the equation here is that you've got wind and solar that produces electricity, but it kind of produces it sort of at the whim and what's happening in nature. Cloud transients, right? Clouds moving, the sun shining or not shining, and the wind ramping up and down. And so you need some intelligence, some equipment, some technology, some tools to be able to maintain the balance that is inherently necessary to operate a power system. And thereby you help enable more renewables by maintaining the balance.
And if I can interject, if you don't have the information that the smart grid gives you, from the utility point of view, you have to be more conservative than you would otherwise have, and that means you can't take as much renewable.
Right. And you do it less efficiently.
It's the precautionary principle. You can't take too many chances unless you know what you're doing.
Right.
If you know more about what you're doing.
Yes, unless the smart grid is feeding you information so that you can make adjustments to keep the grid stable. And so you draw the line a lot higher in terms of where you are going to cut it off at.
You have a bigger safety margin. Risk is larger because of uncertainty, and so therefore to compensate for that, you have to run with a little more conservatism.
That's only good logic, and you can't risk providing electrical power to the community. This is a critical mission, and you can't take any chances about that.
Right. The mission in trying to get the grid more renewable needs to be balanced and maintaining reliability, right? Yeah. So you need new tools, new ways of doing things to get there ultimately.
Yeah. Well, I want to throw some ringers. One of them Jim Kelly mentioned, and that is the whole thing about solar. And we have seen a new technology come out of, Island Pacific Energy, and Joe Saturnia a few weeks ago. We rolled out this new battery system. It's agnostic on the kinds of batteries, but it has electronics that will, I guess, make it smoother. And so this fits in the back of your house for anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000, and can run your system for days, even without sun, because of the batteries. So it goes hand in hand with solar or wind or whatever you're using for renewables. So what happens? I mean, I guess the first question is storage happening on Kauai? I mean, do you have an initiative for that? Are people actually going and buying batteries? What's happening on storage as far as Kauai is concerned?
Well, we have a pretty ambitious battery storage program of our own that we're hooking into our own utility scale solar project, and have found we have a 3 megawatt battery storage with the big Port Allen solar array, which is the largest in the state. We're going to have another 3 megawatt system set up in a project that's going to break ground next month down in Koloa. That's going to be a 12 megawatt project. We're really big on battery storage. What we want to do is figure out how we can take all of this abundant sunshine during the day, use it at 7 o'clock at night when everybody comes home and starts taking showers and watching TV, because that is our peak, 7 o'clock at night. And we want to not be turning on the conventional generation as much as we can avoid it.
Yes.
And if we can squeeze a couple more hours out of the sun at the tail end of it, that's going to really be a big benefit, not only in terms of rates that people are paying, but in terms of the amount of oil that we're burning, which is what we're all about stopping, right?
Yep. It's all about 1 megawatt at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the residential customers, I think that's still kind of the holy grail. I think there's still a fundamental misunderstanding by people about PV and what they get with that. I get people calling, well, I'm going to go off the grid. I'm putting in a PV system, so I'm going off the grid. And it's like, well, for 6 hours a day, you think you're getting off the grid, and then the other 18, you're back on it. I think there's some guys living in the woods that are doing the off-the-grid thing, and I think there's some pretty expensive systems you can get that you can kind of go off the grid, but I think it's still not to the point where you can run your TV and your ice maker and your air conditioner and your refrigerator, freezer, all that kind. You got to cut back on your lifestyle to take the best advantage of that.
That reminds me of a conversation that Sharon Moriwaki and I had with a high school student in Lanai. And the high school kids in Lanai all felt that, it wasn't about wind, it was about solar. And she said, we want solar here in Lanai, that's what we want. And I said to her, so what happens after the sun goes down? It's going to go down. You can't run all your stuff. You can't watch television. You can't do much after the sun goes down if you just have solar. And she said, that's okay. We'll go to sleep early. Talk about change of lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I wanted to field with you guys a possibility that Ray Starling and I were talking about. It was last week. It's the hydrogen possibility. I'm going to give you, and I know HE&I is working on something like this, especially about geothermal. I'm going to give you a black box, okay, and it's going to go onto your solar system, and it's going to generate hydrogen and put the hydrogen in the tank. Okay, now you can take the hydrogen out of that tank through another black box, or a fuel cell, and generate electricity out of that. So you can leave the tank there forever, or you can use it tomorrow. It doesn't matter. It's just, or even better yet, you can take the tank down to the harbor and put it on a tug and barge and send it anywhere in the world and sell it, because it is energy in the tank. And it's fungible, and it's a sort of common denominator kind of way for storage. Is there a future in the smart grid for this kind of thing? And if there isn't, can you consider that? You want to write this down? I'm speaking to Leon.
I got it in my head here.
Okay.
Storage, right? I mean, storage is this incredible tool, right, that any engineer that is working on a power system would love to deploy. The issue is always kind of balancing costs, right? It's another element. It's a relatively high cost. Hydrogen storage, my personal opinion, I think that's a bit ways off from a cost economics perspective. Technically, you can store hydrogen, you make energy with the fuel cell. It's really an economics issue, and then continuing to improve that technology so that it becomes more cost effective. But I think, you know, the cost of energy storage in the form of batteries continues to drop. Some of the work we're doing on neighbor islands is looking at, on Maui, for example, the Smart Grid project is looking at deploying really distributed storage. The kind of storage that maybe you alluded to a bit here, which could go on and couple with a PV system at someone's home, right? The interesting thing what we're trying to do with this that makes it, I think, sort of smart storage and smart grid would be having software and controls for that storage that would allow the customer to get all the benefits of that storage located at their house behind their meter. Like if the power went out, they could have backup power to their refrigerator, etc. But in everyday operations where you're still connected to the grid, if you had software that could control all of these storage devices sort of all spread out all over the grid and aggregate it and turn that then into an aggregated resource that could be dispatched and used by the utility, now you're sort of maximizing the value opportunity of storage, providing value directly to a customer, which could only be accrued if you put that battery behind the meter, and then being able to aggregate it and use it for grid purposes. So there's that kind of work that's happening that I truly hope, you know, number one, we got to continue to work that technology a bit more. I think there's still some wrinkles in it, pushing that.
That takes us to a whole another chapter, as it were, in terms of smart grid.
Yeah.
Because the smart grid would manage all of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the smart grid is smart enough to manage not only the direct electricity going in wherever the source, but also the storage. It's another degree of it.
Right.
And speaking of another degree of it, we got to take a break. So this is Think Tech Energy Wednesday. How smart is Hawaii's smart grid? With Leon Roos of HNEI, Jim Kelly of KIUC on the phone from Kauai, and Ray Starling and Sharon Moriwaki, and me, Jay Fidel. We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, thank you for tuning in. My name is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for Think Tech Fridays. Join us online 24/7, 365 days a year at thinktechhawaii.com. We're talking about things that matter to Hawaii and around the world. My name again is Attila Saras, and I'm the host for Think Tech Fridays. Mahalo.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle and Cook Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on Think Tech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time.
You're probably wondering why we've called you here today. There are things in the world you just got to get your head around. I know for one, it's a lot of work. Thank God that there is a place where I can go and hear meaningful dialogue over my screen. Think Tech. Be there or be illiterate.
Aloha, I'm Sharon Moriwaki with the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Please join Jay Fidel and me every Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. on Energy Wednesday. See you then.
Aloha. Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem of Think Tech Hawaii, and I want to tell you about our Think Tech talk shows. If you didn't know it, Think Tech streams video and audio for all of its shows live on the internet from 2 to 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and we replay them all night long on Ustream.tv. Visit thinktechhawaii.com for our live stream and YouTube links. Raise your awareness on Think Tech. I'm Maria Kashem, and I'll see you there.
Hi, this is Jay Fidel of ThinkTech. You know, we have some great shows during the business week. We broadcast 2 or 3 times every afternoon between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I just want to mention also that we have a new show. This is The Arts of Life with Willow Chang. Check it out at 2 to 3 p.m. We're back, we're live, we're in for the last segment of the show. And Jim, if you didn't hear the discussion during the break, we concluded that we'll never ever finish this discussion today. We only have like 9 minutes left. And I'm sorry about that. It means you guys have to come back, okay?
Okay.
We're not even close to finishing. But Jim, the question that I wanted to raise with you is, what's the timeline on what's going on in Kauai? You know, with the preface that Kauai is a wonderful laboratory. You know, it sort of runs a parallel to the other big 3 counties. It can be nimble, and it has been, often is more nimble than the other 3 counties. At the same time, it can be a laboratory where we can watch and see what you learn and learn by it. So, you know, I think it's a great, I'm sorry, but it's a great setup that we have Kauai operating as a co-op. But tell me, what is the timeline as far as KIUC is concerned?
We are finished with our smart meter installations. We are in the process, right now we have about, as I said, we have about 10% of our customers have deferred. We are in the process of seeking a monthly fee. We've gone to the PUC and requested a monthly fee to cover the cost of manual meter reading for the folks who have not chosen to go with the smart meter.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, well, that is something that I'm sure you'll be hearing about because that's what our board. I mean, we have an elected board, and they meet every month, and our board just has said from the start, okay, we're giving you a choice that a lot of utilities don't give their customers. We're going to let you opt out of it, and understand though that we're going to look and see what the costs are, and there may be a charge later on, and the day of reckoning has come, and so we've asked the PUC to cover the cost of the meter reading and servicing and maintaining the old meters, and we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, sounds fair. I mean, why should a guy who is allowing the smart meter pay the additional expense involved when the fellow down the block doesn't allow the smart meter, you know?
Well, as you said, this is the first time we're dealing with this issue. It's the first time the PUC is dealing with this issue in Hawaii, and because HECO will be rolling out smart meters over the next 5 years, I'm sure this is an issue that's going to come up on the other islands as well. Will there be, I think they've already said there'll be an opt-out option available for people, but, you know, will there be a charge with that? How much will it be? All those kinds of issues have to be worked out. I mean, ultimately, you want as many people in the grid, the smart grid, as possible. You want it to be as efficient as possible. I've got a picture of 6 smart meters and 1 old meter on the side of a building that a guy has to go out and read that meter every month. We've lost the efficiency of the 6 meters that are smart meters.
Yeah, what a shame.
We still got to send a guy in a truck out there to read it every month.
Yeah, and in Kauai, that could be some distance.
It can. Our meter readers drive 100,000 miles a year.
Gee whiz. And then they run a lot of fuel in those vehicles, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people that are concerned about climate change, I wish I could get them to see that not having guys driving 100,000 miles a year kind of helps that effort, you know? But,
yeah. That's
so
really silly.
we've completed our rollout of that, and hopefully now we're mostly just sitting back and working on enjoying the benefits of it. We're going to have the software, the web portal rolled out by the end of the year.
Okay, are you planning other black boxes, you know, that we were talking about with Leon? Black boxes that do other interpolation of the data?
I think there will be some stuff on the power plant side, the engineering side, that I'm not smart enough to talk about yet, but yeah, there will be other things coming along.
Okay, that's great. So let's turn to Leon. So Kauai really has, it often is very advanced on this kind of thing. On the other hand, smart meters seem to be all the rage smart black boxes seem to be all the rage in Maui. Hitachi has adopted Maui and spends millions, tens of millions over there trying to advance that, making Maui into its own kind of laboratory. And I know you guys, you're doing a lot of things on the other counties, you know? So what are you doing there, and what is your timeline for getting to a place where you can turn to the public and say, ha, we did it?
Yeah, so on Maui, for example, we've got a project right now where we're trying to develop what we call smart inverters, advanced inverters. Again, these devices that are essential to a PV system on a rooftop. We think if we can develop some of these advanced capabilities, it can help enable the ability to put more PV systems on the grid and do it in a way that maintains operability of the grid, right? And so everybody's happy. I think that technology is largely here in terms of those functions in the inverter. A lot of the stuff we're working on right now to demonstrate and prove out is the communications, right, and the control and the ability to change settings and all these things. We're going to be demonstrating those on real homes and real volunteers over the course of next year. And I think then coming out of that, we'll have I believe a proven technology. One of the things that will come hand in glove, though, as these additional technologies come out, is potentially the need to then deal with policy changes and tariff changes and things that are necessary to enable the adoption and use of these new technologies, right? These are maybe market changers in the present PV market, for example, right? Right now, someone puts a PV system on their home, there is no that PV system produce all the power it's capable of, depending on when the sun's up and what the sun's doing. Well, if you introduce capabilities such that you can control that inverter, maybe even if the sun's up, maybe because of some reason you might want to dial it back a little bit for a little bit of time. Well, that changes the economics a little bit, right? So how does that then affect the business environment for that certainty on the financing, all these things, and then
So
tariff
the
structures.
ripple effect.
There's
all
ripple
of it.
effects.
So the smart
Absolutely.
grid is another black letter piece. The smart grid has a ripple effect into all kinds of other areas.
Business, policy, all of these things got to come together. And so I think that's another dimension in sort of the evolution of the adoption of the smart grid and really reaping all the benefits of it, is that there are other things sort of beside just technology that need to occur and evolve with the grid technology to make it all happen. But I think there's a lot of focus on that as well, and certainly a lot of interest in that by our, the commission here and others.
We have to be smart. This is my input on it. We have to be smart to develop a smart grid and to incorporate it into our system. So, Jim, we're almost out of time. Do you want to make a last comment, your last message to the people, as it were?
My message to the people, huh?
Yeah.
I think it's. I think technology is a really great thing, and I'm really excited that we're in our little co-op over here ahead of the rest of the state and offering some really neat tools that people can use to get their electricity bills down. That's what we're excited about over here.
We're excited with you. In fact, we want to bring our spouses over there and spend a few days and check out the smart grid on the beach. Thank you, Jim Kelly.
Thank you, Dave.
Leon, you want to make some closing remarks here in the next 30 seconds or so?
Sure. I mean, I agree with Jim. I think there's just a ton of opportunity, and it's really a necessity. If we're really going to try to reach the goals and the vision of moving off of oil, I mean, really making a big step, a big move, we're going to need new tools, new capabilities. And that's really what this is about, right? And you got to get everybody to buy in. We all got to do this together. Again, the technology is core, but there's all the other pieces that are necessary to make it happen. So it really is going to be an effort of everyone working together.
And we have to follow it. We have to be here and check it out from step to step and see what the issues are, see the solutions, see the ripple effect, and how you deal with that. Ray, comments, summarization, what do you like?
Well, from a guy who works in the energy business and has for most of his life, I see great things in terms of just being at this time and place with the energy business. I know Leon, Jim, myself, and others that are doing this. It's very exciting. It's been done the same way for many, many years, and we're making great strides to change that, and that means opportunity, things happening, excitement for engineers who like to think outside the box.
Say nothing about saving the state.
Well, saving the state would be a
One of
nice
the byproducts,
Yeah. So
Okay, well,
it's good.
I would leave you with two thoughts. That people want a smart grid because the smart grid will make us much better, more self-reliant, but they have to collaborate, cooperate, and they have to understand it costs money, and ultimately, all of us are going to have to pay that price. How smart is Hawaii's smart grid? With Leon Roos of HNEI, Jim Kelly of KIUC. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
And Sharon Moriwaki sitting in the gallery with Ray Starling right here at the table next to me. Great discussion. We'll be back next Wednesday with more Think Tech Energy Wednesday. Hawaii, a state of clean energy. Aloha.
Good.